to introduce myself. My name's David Wicks, and we are getting ready for a webinar. And what we're doing now is just sharing a couple of the different videos. We plan on getting started right at 1:30, so we have one more video, and let's see if I can call it up.
National Park Service presents a helping hand for your community. Communities can grow from the seed of an idea. Great ideas can build great communities. Do you want to give your community something that will last a lifetime? Build a trail, create a park, expand outdoor recreation opportunities, or protect natural areas. If your vision is related to natural resource conservation or outdoor recreation, you can ask for help from the National Park Service. The National Park Service has a community assistance program. We help communities everywhere, not just in national parks, by offering technical assistance and advice. But community members use their own drive, commitment, and enthusiasm to lead the project. The National Park Service can help communities learn to get organized, think and plan strategically, find funding sources, navigate state and federal regulations, develop trail plans, create waterway and conservation networks, communicate ideas, and build lasting relationships. If you want National Park Service technical assistance, take the first step today and visit our website. If your idea is a good fit for National Park Service technical assistance, apply for help. We hope to hear from you soon and look forward to partnering on your community-led conservation and outdoor recreation project.
Hi, once again, my name's David Wicks, and here we go. My name's David Wicks, and with the Ohio River Recreation Trail, and we're here with Brewster Rhodes, who is our co-chair. Our Indiana co-chair is off on vacation right now. That's Jack Sutton. Today, we're going to focus on two river trails, the Tennessee RiverLine and the Great Miami Riverline, or Riverway. And then we're going to hear from Russ Clark from the National Park Service River Trails and Conservation Assistance Program. And so today our schedule, let's see if I can call it up here. We'll hang on. One more time. So our schedule really is we're going to have our little welcome and overview and then go into the Great Miami Riverway with Dan and Stan Kegley, who I'll introduce in a minute, then with the Tennessee Riverline, and then a conversation around the National Park Service River Trails and Conservation Assistance Program and other federal support. Then we're going to have an open discussion. And so please right now start to think about comments and questions. We use the chat feature down on the bottom of the screen. And so please, if you want to, put your name and your organization right now. You can also list any upcoming events around rivers. We want to share that knowledge. We save all the chat features. We also encourage you to sort of think about ideas that we should consider. And so we'd be very appreciative if you could do that. Brewster Rhodes is going to be monitoring it. And so give us your 2 cents. And, you know, the Ohio River Recreation Trail is a river for all. We're working from Portsmouth, Ohio, down to West Point, Kentucky, including Cincinnati and Louisville. This is a screenshot of our webpage. And so you're more than welcome at any time to go to that site. And one of the pieces that we've just finished is our Ohio River Digital Guide. I say we just finished, but in reality, it's a beginning. And so what this piece is that it's a safety organization as well as a orientation to the river. It lists access points, it goes into some restaurants and hotels, but it really gives the river towns a complete access point for tourists who want to visit our community or our river. I'd like to introduce our first speaker. You know, we have get right into it, and it's the Great Miami Riverway, and Dan Foley is the executive director, and we also have Stan Kegley, who is a project manager for Troy, Ohio. So they're going to spend about 15 minutes talking about what they do and why it's important. Dan, why don't you take it away?
Thank you, David. And we're just pleased, Stan and I are both pleased to represent the Great Miami Riverway along with the Ohio River Recreation Trail and the Tennessee Ridgeline. And I think what it shows you, I think at the end of the day, we're all trying to do the same thing, and that is to take this great natural resource that we all have, whatever river it is, and really leverage quality of life and economic development. Stan is going to do the bulk of the work for us here. I just wanted to share my own screen for a second, just a kind of a neat, it's just a picture of what the, there we go. This is the footprint for the, for the Great Miami. You see Sydney, Ohio up at the north through downtown Dayton, Ohio, and then the city of Hamilton at the south end. It's a 99-mile corridor. This started with a 2015 Army Corps of Engineers study. All the communities up and down that corridor were doing some form of investment on the river. And we thought, well, it might not be a bad idea to try to do this stuff together, right? And what that study said for us, and the reason that we believe that, frankly, the work that we're all doing on this call matters, is that for us, we've seen growing interest in private investment in the communities along the river. The study said there's an extensive trail network, which I think we all share, and with not only the water, but bike paths and recreation trails. Communities were have put in about $100 million of parks facilities up in the communities along the river. And then each of these towns, each of these 10 communities has their own culture, their own history, their own kind of good bones, and their own economies. And so in our opinion, we have a lot to work with. And I think, frankly, that's what you're going to hear from Stan Kegley. Stan, who's was one of the early champions of the river for us, for our community. And Stan is going to really talk about why we are optimistic that not only is this the right thing to do now, but continue in the future. So my favorite river champion, I'll introduce to you Stan Kegley from the city of Troy, Ohio. Stan?
Okay. Hopefully.
I'll stop sharing mine, Stan. You're good. Okay.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm going to assume that's a yes. Okay, well, I believe, in part, a great deal of what led to the creation of the Great Miami Riverway was honestly bad marketing. I think we all realize every 4 years we go into election cycles, right? And here come the candidates. And they share with us what our communities are about and the challenges and how they're the ones that can overcome them. They can come forward, make the difference. That's why we should support them. And somehow in this process, Ohio got tagged as a Rust Belt state. You know, a state, if you like concrete and smokestacks, is the place to be. But for anything else, well, honestly, nobody talks about anything else. So Rust becomes our image. And that's not exactly a dream marketing plan if you're trying to attract young, vibrant minds, technology, travelers, and adventure seekers. And we all know workforce development is critical to a region looking to move itself forward in business. We know educationally that universities must be attractive in the opportunities that they offer and the places that they exist. So some early conversations were taking place between the University of Dayton staff members and the Miami Conservancy District staff members about some of the challenges in the area, perceptions, statewide initiatives and goals. And they looked at some things that Ohio doesn't have. Of course, things like mountains and beaches and oceans. But what we do have is a great river network. Specific to us is the Great Miami River, an incredible riverway with an extraordinary aquifer beneath it. And this resource is here, it's now, it's tangible, it reaches through our entire region, and it doesn't need constructed like a new interstate. Millions of dollars do not have to be found to get something started. And in my 3 decades in government, I've witnessed some real head-to-head conflicts with agencies over the past, but honestly, not with this program. Somehow Riverway projects bring a region together. People see it, they feel it, and they come forward with it. In fact, Dayton and Miamisburg and Troy were among the first communities to join up with the Conservancy District and the University of Dayton to form the Ohio's Great Corridor. This would later transition into the Ohio Great Riverway we're talking about today. As an organization, one of the first things we did was develop a partnership with SOCI. SOCI stands for the Southwest Ohio Council of Higher Education. They represent 22 member institutions of higher education. They have 120,000 students they represent. Now that's workforce development. Making that connection is a giant step forward. In 2012, the regional partners came together to look at a Corps of Engineers study. We wanted to put this together. They agreed they would give us a dollar-for-dollar match by doing this. We got a $100,000 study. It's called a planning assistance study. What this does, it's a key component to accessing federal funds. You may have never looked closely at the Corps of Engineers mission statement, but there are 3 small words you need to see in their 2-sentence statement. And those 3 words are energize the economy. Hang on to those words. Those words can open doors. By 2013, our organization had become a 501c7. In fact, as we did more research on destination marketing in our location, we discovered within a 500-mile radius of Dayton, Ohio, lived 50% of America's population. That's pretty significant. In fact, by 2016, we realized we need to redefine ourselves. Ohio's Great Corridor was not making a connection with people. They didn't know where we were. It was too big and broad. So we became the Great Miami Riverway. And in 2017, we brought our coalition members together. We all signed 5-year agreements, economic agreements, to be financially supportive of the organization. And that allowed us in 2017 to hire our first Riverway coordinator. Now, since 2008, our most successful mechanism for bringing communities together as a riverway to explore the value of the river has been what we call the River Summit. At this event, we showcase the opportunities that are being both realized and planned to harness the river's economic energy. This summit has been successful for more than 10 years, bringing governments and agencies together to study and understand the merits of riverfront investing in many forms. Each year we search for keynotes for this who've made commitments in their communities and have overcome hurdles to achieve successes in their regions. It's very important to find ways to bring people together, and we found one of the most successful ways of getting people down to the river. Bring people to the river. Once they see it and they're close to it, they start to understand the value of potential investments in that. And we all know state and federal dollars come forward when they see regional improvements. They want a big bang for their buck, right? Now, what I'm going to do now is give you a brief overview of what one of the river communities has been doing, that being Troy, the one I work for, as a part of the Great Miami Riverway. So we do believe the river is an economic engine for more than just recreation, for workforce development, and for business investment. Now, Troy is a city in Ohio, population of 25,000 people. There are roughly 40 cities in Ohio just like Troy. They have a quaint little downtown. They have interstate access. They have a Kohl's and a Walmart, Applebee's, Ruby Tuesdays, all out by the interstate, all those things, the things we all have, right? But it's what the others don't have that sets us apart. So here comes the river. And unlike an interstate, it doesn't have to be built, doesn't have to be programmed, doesn't have to be budgeted, it's already here. What it does need is a vision and a plan, an understanding of how investing on the riverbanks makes sense. In the Midwest, we often miss the greatest value of real estate along rivers. In the rest of the world, everybody gets it. You own land along the waterfront, its value is significant. In the Midwest, we have enormous amounts of waterfront property. Sometimes we're missing the value of those investments. So Troy specifically needed to stand out, to not be among the other 40 cookie cutter communities. So we want to be a destination for life, for families, for business, and for a bright future. So what we did was we invested in something we call Treasure Island Park. It rests right on the banks of the Great Miami River near our downtown. We wanted to create an active lifestyle park for canoeing and kayaking, hiking, biking, fishing, triathlons, and all the many things we could dream up to do in this park. Also in this park, we have a marina building. It has an indoor-outdoor restaurant facility. People can sit on the deck, they can see the river, they can hear the water, they can see all the things going on around them. In this park, we have an amphitheater. We can bring thousands of people in this amphitheater, enjoy music, activities, and again, be along the riverfront. By doing so many of these things, attracting people to this area, a private foundation donated money for us to build a lighthouse in this area. In fact, it has gone so well that OD&R, which makes money through licenses for boating, allowed us to build a restroom facility, concrete and brick, which everyone likes, at the money they provided for this facility. A local entrepreneur we have in the area is in the fishing business. And what they did, they developed a floating tent. It's an incredible thing. In fact, it became so popular so quickly, the city got a grant to get 10 of these tents that we use at outreach programs. We allow people to rent them. We actually do educational programs with them with the University of Dayton River Stewards. It's become an incredible outreach on the river. From a larger perspective, we've also developed a public-private partnership called Activate Troy. What we do with this is we bring people together. We've developed a 194-page document, a comprehensive study of how we can implement riverfront improvements and directives. Basically, in the next 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, it's a multi-phase plan. Now, for hardcore development, let's talk about something quickly. We have built, actually, we have remodeled something called Hobart Arena, $10 million investment on the waterfront. It's a music and sports venue. Not only that, but in downtown, Kettering Hospital has built a large hospital complex at over $60 million, also on the banks of the river. A church has been converted to a microbrew, I guess they call them. It has a restaurant in the front, a full-scale brewery in the back, an incredible investment, again, $1 million. There's a building in downtown Troy, 3-story old building. It stood there at the time of Abraham Lincoln. Another $1 million is being pumped into it privately, in part, and some government support, to turn a commercial and residential venue together. We have a bank that closed. The building sold the moment the bank closed, because banks nowadays want to be out by interstates and so forth, have drive-throughs. This bank is being transitioned into a wonderful venue for activities, for wedding receptions and so forth. Again, another $1 million investment. A pharmacy downtown has been converted into being a marketing place and a wonderful restaurant. All these things are taking place because of the investments in the riverfront. In fact, we had a group of volunteers just build an 8-mile mountain bike trail with a network along the riverfront. All volunteer-based, again, so successful, they were able to achieve grants and donations up to $20,000 to make further investments. What we have found is the river builds energy, and once the river gets moving, people are behind it, and it moves like a train. So I encourage all of you to look seriously at your riverfront investments and open the doors of opportunity. Thank you.
Dan, do you have anything else to add? We wanted to apologize. There were a series of photographs, but due to a technical glitch of computers, they aren't there right now. And so we can create a small little PowerPoint and send it to folks afterwards. But Stan, what an amazing story. I'm blown away with that whole piece. And you know, the bottom line is, I think it's better to go to Troy, Ohio and eat in one of those restaurants than looking at any photograph any day. And so go visit the Great Miami Riverway and Troy, Ohio. Dan, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
The only thing I would just say is, you know, I think we think of investment in not only in the river but outside the river, right? So if we're talking about trying to make it easier for folks to kayak, easier for folks to bike on the Great Miami River Recreation Trail, we're also looking at the kind of investment Stan was talking about, whether it's a restaurant or a company. And I think what bodes well for all of our efforts is the fact that the more development, the more investment we put in, whether it's public investment, private investment, it's going to help the economy and the workforce. So all of this stuff is intertwined. And so with that, we're thankful that you gave us a couple minutes to share our story. Thank you.
You know, one thing they did not mention is that they're a national river trail as well. So they are recognized across the United States. So as we move forward, thinking about that national tourism base, you know, I do believe in local tourism, just like I believe in local food. But the way we can attract visitors from around the country to our region is so crucial. And I just wanted to just say amazing Stan, and it was just wonderful. Brewster, do you have anything?
David, if I could, yeah, I could, from my experience with the work, the great work of the Great Miami Riverway, and I've been connected to it since they started, is the whole bike trail component, because of the fact that you had a flood in 1913, right? They had to build a giant system of levees up and down the Great Miami River, which created a great base for a very level bike trail for miles and miles and miles. And in fact, the Dayton metropolitan region, as I understand, has been recognized as the top cycling community in the country in terms of how many miles of off-road bike trail you all have available. But it connects Dayton all the way up I-75, Troy, Sydney, Piqua, other communities down to Miamisburg and Carrollton and other places. So you've become a place that people can spend 2 or 3 days riding bikes on very forgiving turf, and spending the night in a bed and breakfast or Airbnb and enjoying the restaurants and bars within that whole corridor. So I think it's something amazing that you guys have developed. Hats off.
Well, once again, you know, it's amazing what happens in a 10-year period of time. Just congratulations. We'd like to move on, and our next speaker is Brad Collette, Dr. Brad Collette, and he is with the University of Tennessee School of Landscape Architecture. He also has with him Mike Beard, who's Park Director for Rowan County. They're in Tennessee. So it's south of the Ohio River. It actually goes into the Ohio River, and maybe, Brad, you can give us a geography lesson as well as what you do.
Yeah, I sure will. Can you all see my screen right now?
We're fine. That's great.
Okay, very good. I appreciate the opportunity to share this exciting project with the audience here today. I actually have a very personal connection to all 3 of these rivers. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, in a suburb called Blue Ash on the northeast side. And my dad grew up in Piqua, so I have a very close connection to these. And one thing that's really exciting to see from the work that Stan and Dan just presented, the success that they're realizing right now is something that we aspire to in the future. If the RiverLine were a baseball game, we're in the top of the 2nd inning right now. We're getting our feet under us. We got some great momentum, and we're excited to share that here today. I'm also excited that there are so many of these projects that are leaning on their universities for partnerships. I think that's a great example of what universities can do to make impact in their communities. Here's your geography lesson. The Tennessee River Basin is 41,000 square miles. Tennessee River starts in Knoxville, Tennessee, where the French Broad and Holston come together. It travels 652 miles through 4 states, where it empties into the Ohio River here at Paducah, as you mentioned. This slide is useful to not only orient you to the geography, but also to tell you a little bit about how the project started. You see the orange line on this map. That's a trip that I took with my students in 2016. And the experiences that we had along the way, the things that we saw, the beauty of the river, the communities, we're seeing the economy and the way that the river shapes recreation along the way, the culture and heritage and the TVA story as well. But also meeting the people whose lives are shaped by the river and who work to steward the river. But our students were also very much affected by the challenges that they learned about that our rivers face, and the Tennessee River shares many of the challenges from water quality, shoreline stability, public access, and ecological health that the Ohio and the Great Miami also share as well. So it was from those experiences that the vision for the Tennessee RiverLine originated. And that vision is to create a continuous system of paddling, hiking, and biking experiences from Knoxville, Tennessee to Paducah along the 652 miles of the Tennessee River. I'm really excited not only about what this project stands to become from a recreation standpoint, but how it also stands to shape the economy, public health, and environmental health of the communities and landscape along its way. Fundamental to our concept is what we call the river as park. And this reframes the Tennessee River, its 9 reservoirs and river reaches, as well as the adjacent public lands, in addition to the 32 counties, 41 incorporated cities and towns along its reach, and the 2.4 million people that live there, as a 1.2 million acre park. And now that is a landscape that's more than twice the size of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, which is within our watershed and is the most visited park in the park system. That river as park idea not only works regionally, but also works locally in how we're challenging our communities to rethink their relationship with the Tennessee River and recognize their blueways as a part of their public space system, and how it offers the connectivity that we spend millions of dollars on grade to try to achieve. And here we have these trails and systems already connecting us. This is Roane County that Mike Beard will talk about here shortly, but I want to talk a little bit more about some of the things that inspire us with this vision. We understand that the Tennessee River already today provides day use and recreation opportunities. It's a social commons. It's an infrastructure of health and recreation and activity and events as well. And so the way that this project works both locally and regionally, it allows for a range of different users to engage it. The daily user who might be thinking about the river access as a part of their active transportation or healthy lifestyle and recreation, but also visitors who might want to paddle the Tennessee River in sections, or perhaps do the entire 652-mile reach in one continuous trip that may take a number of months to actually complete, and visit communities and have on-land experiences along the way. We all know how big of a part of our economy the outdoor industry is. It's a bigger part of our economy than pharmaceuticals, as well as oil and gas production. We know that local trails provide jobs and direct spending. And so we aspire to cultivate this within our region. We also are now today more aware than ever of how much we seek the landscape around us for our physical, mental, and spiritual health. And so to provide this infrastructure is also an aspiration as part of the vision for the Tennessee RiverLine. And that leads to quality of life. And I think that that's something that Stan and Dan were definitely talking about in terms of not only providing healthy lifestyles, but a quality of life that attracts residents, that attracts new businesses, and distinguishes communities too. And also how a constituency of new river stewards is gathering through some of the activities that we've already had with this project. Last year, we did a pilot program that we called 652 to You, where we were trying to gain feedback and public engagement in the concept development. We engaged 5 of our pilot partners, one of which was Roane County, in a 2.5-day workshop where we met with community leaders. We had river activities and events, and we had a public engagement event where we designed interesting and engaging activities for, again, communities to have dialogue about what the river means to them locally and how they aspire to improve their access in the future. That answered a lot of questions for us. The slide that I skipped over showed the map of the communities that applied to this program. So more than half of the Tennessee River communities applied, many of which had not even heard of the Tennessee RiverLine before the pilot application was submitted. So it helped us answer a lot of questions, but it also left us with a number of questions about how we move forward. And so recently we've launched the Tennessee River Towns program. That is an indefinite outreach initiative that provides a framework for our partnership and for our university to engage communities and to support their initiatives to build awareness about the river, build awareness about the vision for this project, to establish infrastructure and improve access, and then to operate this RiverLine trail and to market it internationally as a destination for flat water paddling. I don't want to go into a lot of detail about this. Perhaps there'll be another opportunity to do this, but within each stage's criteria for this program, we have activities and reporting that is required across a range of different realms. We've also developed and published a reference guide. If any of this has piqued your interest, please go to tnriverline.org and check out some of the resources that we have. But Tennessee River communities are really the beating heart of this project. And so I'm going to yield the rest of this time to Mike Beard, who's going to share their perspective, Roane County's perspective on this vision and what they're doing already to embrace it.
Thank you, Brad. We are, first of all, where Stan is 5 years from now. That much about, you say 10 years into this. And
Mike, you're garbled.
You're more like 10 months into this. We are in 10 years down the road. It's quite an enviable situation. So I'd like to share our experiences on RiverLine. We're in Tennessee County, a population of about 53,000. This county is adjacent to Knox County.
David, we'll have to change this up.
I don't mean to interrupt, but your voice is very garbled.
Then I enunciate clearly. Is that better?
It's been suggested that, Mike, you log back in, log out, and log back in. Mike, if you don't mind trying to do that, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Brad, do you have anything you'd like to do that while he's logging in? You're muted.
Okay, yeah, I think we're back on here. We'll get Mike logged back in and hopefully enable him to offer some of the great insights that he has. Our pilot program was incredibly successful, as I mentioned, and you know, in contemporary planning and design, I think that there's a real important shift that we aspire to plan with, not plan for our communities. And Mike's community was a leader in that initiative. And so, Mike, you're back with us now. Can we hear you better now?
Can you hear me better now?
Oh, much better.
Oh, well, gee whiz. Now, I was complimenting Stan on his 10 years with this. Now, I'm more like 10 months into this. So this is a bottom-up sort of look at things. Roane County is a county with a population of 53,000. We're one of the adjacent communities to Knox County, which is the home of Knoxville, which is the home of UT, which is the home of Brad's organization, the Landscape Architecture Department. And we're also, where he lives is practically at the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, the most visited park in the system, as I understand. So what we had a series of problems, and everybody listening has problems. So our particular ones were that we needed to establish a recreation component to our traditional recruitment of industry to try to achieve the goals of the county. We're experiencing a population decline and the pressure that brings to the tax base. In particular, in this county, 53,000, we have 5 high schools, which define 5 different ways of thinking. And a lot of times they conflict with each other on the football field, for instance. And the identities become very well defined. So we needed a common purpose to try to bring this group together, because 53,000 is not many, but divided by 5, that's too small to accomplish anything. So, and our other challenge is we've yet to be successful in creating a significant retirement community. So all this, we're trying to find our way we're into the future. And we've felt strongly that recreation needed to be part of it. We knew we needed it, but we didn't know how. And that's where I want to stop and draw a big line under this 652 to you process. What Brad's organization brought to us was a very professional, very sound marketing practices. He had some pictures there of people standing around a sand table, putting in pens in front of beautiful graphics. We're not a sophisticated organization, this small county, and this was something we could not have done on our own. So I can't stress enough to look into this general process that they've branded 652 to you. It allows us to, it took us, it set a path where we went very formally into our strengths and our weaknesses. We had outside eyes coming in, looking at things we walk by every day, and just having that third set of eyes was key to this. It gave us a new perspective. They gave us a way to solicit and obtain the public's input. And then the big multiplier here is, of the 5 pilot communities, we're able now to start developing relationships with with other governments, with other communities that we know are like-minded. So I want to stress, if you have any interest in this, understand more about this 652 to you process. To me, that's the soundness of this approach. So being exposed to 652 in their process, we're now leveraging our largest asset, which is 39 miles of the Tennessee River with Roane County on both shores, in a TVA impoundment called Watts Bar Lake. And that represents mile marks 544 to 583. To me, it's good to start thinking in terms of mile marks, because the project's named 652 for a reason. And Paducah's at 0. And Knoxville and the Holston and French Broad are at 652. It allows you to think about it linearly. But this gives us the chance to leverage our East Tennessee location. No state income tax, 4 seasons, mountains, and what's the 3 rules of real estate? You said it, location, location, location. We have got to leverage this location. And this has the potential to be big enough to be that single project that allowed us to break down some community barriers and get on working together on something that's tangible, that you can see, that will definitely benefit us. This will in turn allow us to differentiate this community to potential employers, to industries, to new residents, that we are open to looking at new ways to use this big asset in sustainable, different, non-traditional, non-300 horsepower bass boat ways. So we're open to that. So I'll wrap up. It was a good day when we learned about the Tennessee RiverLine 652 pilot community program. And it was a real good day when we were selected as a pilot community. And it was a good day when we identified a champion who was in a position to make 652 and our involvement in it a singular priority, not just another good idea that gets lost in the shuffle. We realized the power of the 652 branding, a uniform approach to signage, to wayfinding, to publicity, and this opportunity to develop relationship with like-minded communities. So we've had our first 2 events. One was big, one was small. One was pre-COVID, one was post. And now I find ourselves as a consumer of what 652 offers, and as a supplier of taking this vision and bringing it to our citizens. So we're kind of in the middle, and it's a really good place to be. Thank you for hearing Roane County's story.
Boy, I tell you, thank you, Brad, and thank you, Mike. What an inspiration. It's just tremendous. And one thing Mike didn't mention was this property that is behind him is a new park, a new camping facility. with just some very comfortable chairs that, you know, the university folks know how to be comfortable, and so they recommended to put those in. And so there's another advantage to university people, not only getting good sort of strategic thinking, but they like to be comfortable. And so please make some comments or questions inside the chat feature. Brewster's monitoring that, and we're going to have a short discussion coming up next. But, you know, another thing that's in common with the Ohio River Recreation Trail and the Tennessee RiverLine and the Great Miami Riverway is federal support in some way, shape, or form. You know, in today's economy and today's challenges, it's a challenge. That's the bottom line. But, you know, one of the fascinating things is Congress just passed a wonderful outdoor education bill that I think could have some significant effect on this. I'd like to introduce Russ Clark, who's with the National Park Service, Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program. And Russ is our liaison. So the Ohio River Recreation Trail applied to the National Park Service, and we were granted a time, along with Kentucky has 2 of them now. So we have the Ohio River Recreation Trail, but we also have a John Muir Trail, which is looking from going to West Point all the way down to Savannah, Georgia, then over to Florida. So Russ is a busy guy, and we just wanted to thank you, Russ, for your time and energy, and you're on, Russ.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to try and get into sharing my screen. Here we go. Thank you very much for the opportunity to meet with you today. The goal of this presentation is to enlighten participants on community assistance programs available to them. And so why the national park? Well, we will cover that for you. We will identify how you can get help from the Arrowhead through the National Park Service Rivers, Trails Conservation Assistance Program. We'll provide lists and links to other community assistance programs. We're going to give a brief overview of the Ohio River Basin and then unveil the new Ohio River Recreation Trail Rivertown Review Program, which is the new community assistance program. So coming back to why the National Park Service? Well, everybody's very familiar with our beautiful national parks and what they stand for, but very few folks are aware of the other part of the mission for the National Park Service, which is cooperating with partners to extend benefits of natural and cultural resource conservation and outdoor recreation. And that is where our program, Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance, comes into play. We are a partnerships division of the National Park Service. We offer free technical planning assistance through an application process to communities and nonprofit organizations. We will provide expertise and experience from around the nation. And we are providing that assistance in suburban, urban, and rural areas throughout the country. We've been bringing America's best ideas to communities across the country for the past 30 years, helping to create those special places that belong to all of us, and with a goal of helping people help themselves. We work on very specific principles, and first we promote collaboration amongst all groups, and those be helping the partners in the community to bring the right people to the table and make our projects stronger and working groups more effective. Second principle is basically we're invited into the communities. We do not come to the community unless we're invited. We have no regulatory role, and inviting us doesn't mean that we approve or disapprove your proposal. We are there to work with you on your vision and your goals. We provide assistance that's tailored to each project. There's no cookie cutter process in this at all across the country. Each project has unique needs, and we will find the resources and experience to meet those needs. We advocate for strong public engagement in the planning, the decision-making, development, and outreach process. We strive to model inclusive practices and bring that expertise to all of our projects. And we look to support tangible outcomes with our projects that provide value for the long term. So we help communities build partnerships, inventory and analysis of recreation assets, helping find the gaps that may be in their community. We will provide all types of different linkage opportunities to explore. And we facilitate community engagement processes all across the board. We will also assist with conceptual master planning, and we will identify funding opportunities. Our program does not provide dollars for projects, but it will provide expertise and help make projects more fundable. And we do this with an approach is utilizing a committee structure to help get things done. So our program offers 2 levels of assistance based on project needs. There's a consultation, which is the short-term assistance, or as a project for long-term assistance, 1 to 2 years. The deadline for all assistance requests is March 1st, 2021. We are 1 click away. All of our information for application and other related data, information on what projects are being worked on in each state and how to contact us is all on our website. And so future technical planning assistance for your community may just be 1 click away. And I would like to take note that all the links provided in this presentation are available to the participants on the reference sheet under the Community Assistance Program. So you do not need to write down any of the links, they will be provided. This has been a quick overview of the National Park Service Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Assistance Program. And next, I would like to identify some of the other assistance programs available to communities from federal agencies and national organizations. Well, this list does not include every potential assistance program available. It does provide a great start for all communities. Starting with the Environmental Protection Agency, they have 10 smart growth technical assistance programs, all providing different levels of assistance based on different particular needs of a community. And I'd like to point out that 2 programs of note, the Recreation Economy for Rural Communities and Smart Growth Implementation Assistance. All the information related to these assistance programs are available on their website. Next, the U.S. Forest Service has the Shared Stewardship Programs. There are 9 programs listed here, and they provide assistance in both rural and urban areas related to forestry. So please check out their website. Your community may be eligible for something through them. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Division of Partner and Intergovernmental Affairs, has a lot of different programs available. And so I recommend you go to their website, go to their search box, type in the list of programs, and it will take you to pages and pages of programs available through the Fish and Wildlife Service across the country. The National Fish and Wildlife Foundation has 8 active programs for community assistance, and 2 of those that I'd like to point out are the Resilient Communities Program and the Monarch Butterfly and Pollinators Conservation Fund. Almost all communities can find some section in their parks for the pollinators to congregate. So take advantage of these funding sources and visit their website for more information. The National Fish and, and finally, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has a multitude of programs under these 3 categories: under Conservation Service, under Rural Development, and Strategic Economic and Community Development. Each of these particular 3 categories has a multitude of several different programs that provide community assistance, and please check out their websites. Next, I'd like to give an overview of the Ohio River Basin. It encompasses pieces of 15 states. It's over 200,000 square miles of land. The Ohio River has 60 direct tributaries and many, many secondary tributaries feeding into those tributaries. And there are approximately 64 existing water trails within the Ohio River Basin at this point, and 1 designated national water trail, the Great Miami watershed, or Riverway, I'm sorry, Great Miami Riverway. Next, I'd like to give a brief overview of a master planning process that's currently taking place in the Ohio River Basin by the Ohio River Valley Water Sanitation Commission, or SANCO, the Ohio River Basin Alliance, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They're developing a collective strategy for the Ohio River Basin. And goal number 4 is exploring world-class nature-based recreation opportunities within the Ohio River Basin. And this is the first time this group has included recreation in their 5-year plans. At this point, they have objective one is to grow the outdoor recreation economy at a rate that exceeds the national average. And objective two is to create a basin-wide communication plan for recreation that encompasses recreation safety as well as the benefits to public health and quality of life. Please visit their website to be able to review the entire document. The Ohio River Recreation Trail. It's a current National Park Service Rivers, Trails, and Conservation Systems project covering 3 states along a 471-mile corridor of land and waterway adventure trail opportunities from Portsmouth, Ohio to West Point, Kentucky. And along this corridor, there are 28 river towns. And at this point, we would like to announce the Rivertown Review Program. That's providing a fresh set of eyes on enhancing tourism and outdoor recreation in your community. This is sponsored by the National Park Service RTCA program and the Ohio River Recreation Trail Steering Committee with assistance from the Lewis and Clark Geotourism Project, as well as assistance from Solomar International. This will be an interdisciplinary team of 4 to 6 individuals led by the RTCA staff and may also include students from the various universities in the Ohio River Valley. This river review program will include a free 2-day workshop, assessment of the community's recreation resources, community discussions and brainstorming, and providing a list of recommendations. The intent here is to help communities see the possibilities and identify potential actions they can pursue. And this will be available to the 28 river towns in the Ohio River Recreation Trail Study area. With the workshop agenda, we'll start with pre-visit review of existing conditions and an asset inventory, which include a number of different items, such as review of the existing social media, websites, brochures, a general on-site survey of wayfinding, walkability, river and land recreation facilities in the community, some informal interviews with tourists and businesses, and then assemble any existing studies that are available in the community. Day one, we'll experience the community, and through that process, we will introduce the team to the community of visiting the recreation sites that are identified, review the information that's been listed on the digital guide for the Ohio River Recreation Trail, as well as the Lewis and Clark Geotourism Project to help verify information that's already been collected. We'll summarize those initial observations. With day two, we will do community discussions, creating action. Team introductions to the Rivertown leaders. In the morning, there will be stakeholders discussions, doing brainstorming, SWOT analysis, identify potential local classic trail routes for bicycling, hiking, motorboating, and paddle trips. In the afternoon, we'll do a next steps discussion, identifying funding and development support, inclusion in the digital guide and Lewis Clark Tourism Program, and potential action recommendations. And finally, we will provide a post-visit report out, which will be the compiled information, overview of observations, suggested actions, and beneficial resources. We will ask the communities to provide certain levels of information as listed here, identifying key participants, local organizations, tourism information, a list of recreation resources and the locations of those resources on a map, copies of web links to tourism and community development plans, and then agree to provide meeting locations and host the Rivertown Review Team for 2 days. Agree to participate in a future Rivertown Summit where we can bring all the information gathered together. To apply for assistance, the first round of deadline assistance is due August 17th, 2020, and the communities selected for the first round assistance will be notified on September 1st. With this, we submit a letter to request assistance to either myself or to Andrew Ireland, the RTCA staff person for Ohio. We're working on this project jointly. We will ask the applicants to identify why does your town want this review? What is the anticipated outcome? What are your community's biggest assets? In other words, what makes your place special? Who will be invited to participate? Who will be the project contact, and also agree to provide additional information. In the end, in 2021, we will host a Rivertown Review Meeting Summit, where we will share the general findings and opportunities from the participating communities. And it's our intent to seek and share prospects to advance all of the outdoor recreation experiences in the Ohio River corridor. Future Rivertown Review assistance for your community may be just one click away. Please visit the Ohio River Recreation Trail website to find all the requirements for application, submission, and if any questions you may have, all the information is at this website. In conclusion, please experience your America, no matter what form of recreation you take. The RTCA program has helped several communities achieve their outdoor recreation goals, and I hope that participants in this webinar will be able to utilize some of the links and information to other community resource programs, and we hope that the communities along the Ohio River Recreation Trail will take advantage of the new Rivertown Review Assistance Program. And in conclusion, the National Park Service Rivers, Trails, and Conservation vision for the future is quite simple, and that is a network of parks, rivers, trails, greenways, and open spaces that promote quality of life and link people to their natural and cultural heritage locally. Thank you.
Russ, just thank you. It's just amazing what our government can do for us. You know, it's a pleasure. And I could guarantee that working with both Russ and Andrea is a pleasure. You know, they help facilitate. They don't do the work, unfortunately. You know, we still have to have our committees and our local funds, but they're an invaluable guide and a linking source to all these other different federal funds that he mentioned. And they also know the community. So in Kentucky's case, they've worked with a lot of rivers across the area. Andrea's worked with trails up and down through Ohio and Indiana. So they know the community. So it's a pure pleasure. We're going to move into our next phase of this discussion, and that is really sort of comments. We have about 8 minutes or so left. So if you want to say something, we'd love to have you do that. Just please text, and Brewster's going to facilitate that. We will stay online till the last person hangs up. So, you know, we officially end at in another 6 minutes, but we will stay around for as long as you want to. Our first person who's going to make a short comment is Derek, who is with the Lewis and Clark Geotourism Project, who actually is the next focus of the next webinar. So Derek, are you there?
I am here. So yeah, we're going to be working alongside, let me back up a moment. So I work for Solimar International. We're a sustainable tourism consulting firm. We've been contracted by the National Park Service to build out geotourism along the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. So with that trail running from Pittsburgh to Oregon, it follows, for the most part, the Ohio River out east, the Missouri River in the central part of the country, and the Columbia River out west. So we've been a pretty close partner with the Ohio River Recreation Trail, as our projects really do have a lot of overlap. And we'll be working closely with Russ and Andrea to help build out these river talks. We have a lot of experience building workshops to help analyze products, asset inventory, and really get to the core of problems inside of communities. So really excited to be part of it. And yeah, I know that myself and Dan Wiley at the National Park Service are really excited to chat with y'all next week, or 2 weeks, I believe, about our geotourism program.
That's August 6th, and you can get more information on the Ohio River Recreation Trail webpage. Thank you, you know, and it's just fascinating to sort of think that these rivers have been traveled for a long time, you know, and as both presenters said, it's there already. We don't have to build anything. We really don't have to buy a lot of land, but we're there. So Brewster, any comments? You've been monitoring the chat.
Yeah, a couple things. There are 3 points. One is what impact does the passage just recently, last week, of the Great American Outdoor Act potentially have on funding for these kinds of initiatives around the country, and particularly in our region? Anybody have any insight about that? And if not, what we'll do is try to do follow-up research and send it out to people, but it's almost $1 billion new initiative that the federal level is designed to fund conservation efforts, some of which could include assistance for these river trails as they're getting built. Okay, that's one. Number two, there was a question about bike trails in the Troy area and up and down the Great Miami. How were they organized and how were they funded? How did they get produced?
Well, Brewster, you mentioned, and Stan might want to weigh in here too, but you mentioned that the benefit that we have I work for the Miami Conservancy District, which is kind of our parent organization, which is a flood control agency. In 1913, there was a terrible flood in the communities along the Great Miami. And so basically, we, the public, own the levees along the river. And so as you pointed out, because we don't have to negotiate with Dan Foley and Russ Clark and Mike Beard and Brewster Rhodes to build every mile of trail, we all own the property. That's enabled us to really have, as you said, the most number of connected, more than 330 miles of connected path. And so a bad thing happened in 1913, but a good thing came from the fact that we can build bike paths along the rivers now. So.
Excellent. Dan's 100% correct. Working together with our local park districts, the Miami Conservancy District, of course, old railroad lines along riverways. It turned out to be a wonderful thing. We've also worked with ODNR for financial support. So all those hands working together really helped achieve a great bicycle network.
Excellent. Another quick question has come in about the Tennessee RiverLine, and what organization, Brad, was responsible for developing this initiative, and how did it get funded, especially at the beginning?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So as I mentioned before, the vision for this project actually originated in a University of Tennessee School Landscape Architecture Design Studio. So I was teaching a class that was asking questions about the future of the Tennessee River and how we can embrace our legacy of innovation and regional thinking. And one student recognized that, well, we don't really advocate for things that we don't know, and we don't know what we can't experience. And so the proposal for that project came from them. We had the opportunity in 2017 to share that through an exhibition to which we invited our partners that we already connected to, including state parks, including TVA. And we weren't at that point connected to the National Park Service, but TVA recognized the practicality of that vision, as well as how well it aligned with their own initiative. And so they provided us with the seed funding that we've been able to kind of bootstrap year over year. That's now led us to a substantial investment from our university, and that will also then lead to other larger grant and sustainable funding opportunities. So it's been a process. It's been kind of a chess match. Again, over the last 4 years to get us to this point. But we're really excited to be where we are, and it's the future is looking very, very positive for the implementation of this project.
Great. Well, thanks, buddy. You did a great job of presenting this whole thing with together. You guys did a great job, Mike. Thank you. Two things I'd like to, there's no other particular questions we have, but I did want to recognize and give a shout out to Mayor Cleese from Bellevue in the Northern Kentucky area, because they're in the process of developing a water taxi on the Ohio River, which is a wonderful, amazing undertaking, and also developing an observation deck. They have a great view of Ohio, frankly, from Bellevue, and also other parts of Northern Kentucky if you look to the left. So hats off to what Bellevue is doing. The city of Dayton next door is like pretty fanatic in competition with them. So there's a lot of wonderful stuff happening in the Northern Kentucky community through South Bank Partners as well. But also, never one to miss an opportunity. Folks from New Richmond just piped in to make it clear to everybody that New Richmond is proud of the fact that our Ohio River waterfront is believed to be the only waterfront recognized by the National Park Service National Underground Network to freedom. So it's a nationally recognized operation, given their amazing history of the National Underground Railroad there in New Richmond. So I think that speaks to each community looking to see what historically or culturally or whatever distinguishes them, that allows them to, on their signage and their marketing, give people yet another reason to want to come and visit. And then when they tie that to their planned riverfront development, the development of a new bike trail after they close a couple of lanes on State Highway 52. I think they have a pretty creative approach. So the bottom line before we close is, if you are a river community, a river town community from Portsmouth to West Point, you now have the opportunity, thanks to what Russ laid out, to, by the 17th of August, apply to get the Rivertown Review Program coming to your community. It doesn't cost you money. It does cost you some time and some extra effort to bring people together, provide information, but the benefit is you get the expertise of the National Park Service, the experience and expertise of folks who are on the steering committee of the Ohio River Recreation Trail and of the folks connected to the Lewis and Clark Trail, to do a second set of eyes on what assets you have, how they can be further developed in a cost-effective way, how you can, through better signage and wayfinding and marketing, really promote the assets that you have, and get input and give us input about what we could do to better support your efforts to grow and develop your community. So keep in mind, it's the 17th of August, and those who apply have the opportunity to get this service, right? There will be a second round, Russ, I think, pointed out, next year. So there'll be a certain number of communities that we'll be able to tackle this fall, and the next round will be in the spring, and then we'll bring everybody together for the summit, as you mentioned. So,
Brewster, I'm going to cut in here just to respect everybody's time. Once again, we are going to stay online for as long as people want to talk about it. We have a slide up here for the next webinar, which is going to focus on the Lewis and Clark Trail, but also with the Kentucky Tourism Office. We have the Deputy Director of Kentucky Tourism and their focus on trail towns and what they think they can develop with towns along the Ohio River. Another project that is equally as interesting is in Louisville coming up in September. We'll have a Ohio River Basin Symposium and Summit 2020. So there's 17 universities through the Ohio River Basin Alliance and the Ohio River Consortium for Research and Education coming together to talk